Let's back that up. It's not a it's a conversation.
It's not a conversationist. I could be a conservationist.
I get turned up at that.
Conservationist.
That's all right.
Conservation.
I don't feel any less than for it.
I'm just practicing. I'm putting music to your words.
That's what I'm saying. Right now I'm going to go through and sing it this time. Okay, Sam. So,
that was it?
start.
That was the intro?
That's it. We'll cut it together. It'll look great.
No, seriously, let's go. Let's do it. You want me to do it, Joey, or not? Because I'll do it.
Yeah, let's go.
We're here today with Samuel J., very close friend of ours here at the Space Between. He's a singer, songwriter, producer, and conservationist from Cornwall, South, UK. He's a devout global fan base and is inspired by people and cultures from around the globe and his love and respect for nature. He's been an active ocean conservationist as of the last 10 years and works with underprivileged youth using meaningful music as a tool for empowerment.
And he's here with us today in the Space Between. Thank you for having me.
Amazing to be here. Thank you, everybody.
Right on. What's happening?
That was an epic intro.
I stumbled a little bit,
We worked on that for 2
for
days.
the most part.
There was definitely my name. I was stoked that we got my name in there.
Yeah.
It's just better that Eddie read it. I can't read that well.
That's okay.
I'm getting far though with that, right? Anyways, so how you doing? Thanks for coming by.
Amazing. Yeah, great to be here. It's good to see the whole growth of this platform and finally get my feet in the ground in Los Angeles for a few days to be with you fine people.
You know,
yes.
What's wild is actually being here, sitting down with you, because I didn't really think about it, but coming in here, the time we spent on this project together, like more so than I think, because there's so many new people that how it's evolved. But to even have you to come back here in between the so many different things that have happened, from fires, and you got really sick, very sick. I was sick for a second, but to come back here and actually sit here with you is it's interesting to go through the process of these changes and this project and have you here. So thanks. I was long-winded, but that's where it goes. Satnam.
Yeah, I feel like this, our work is our life. There's no separation between the two things. When you believe 100% in something that you're doing, everything you're experiencing in your life kind of ends up being part of your art, part of the way that you kind of create things. And I feel like this whole platform is being created, is inspired by a lot of the experiences you've had in your own life. And that's made you passionate about wanting to give back. And yeah, it's good to see. And it's great to see.
I met Sam, interesting enough.
I do not.
Was, I don't know if you remember, it was at the end of the street here, they were doing closing, and you were laying down right at the bottom, and you were wearing I remember you were wearing a black hat. That was the first time we actually met. We spoke a little bit, but then the next time was at
I was laying in the middle of the road?
No.
Oh.
What's the name of it? It's right at the corner here in Rose, catty corner to the Rose Cafe. It's like a church. But
Firehouse?
No, we're here.
Full circle.
Yeah, that's exactly. That's where it was. But
that's
then
what's up.
That's what's
full
up.
Circle.
Yeah.
That's what's up.
Wow.
And then right when I was going through the beginning, I guess I'd say the awakening, I kept running into you like randomly. Like that once you were laying down and here's this guy. And then the other time it was with Jack Starr, a friend of ours, up at, what's his name? Up the house there, Red Lightning. That dude's name. Do you remember?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, well, I remember the event up there.
Yeah, so we went up there. So I kept kind of bumping into you. This started happening, and you were actually probably one of the first people or friends I became friends with in the conscious community. Like really, right at the beginning. Because that was about a year, probably 2 years ago, maybe. About
2, the summer of 2017.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But in between that time, just between the time from me meeting you to now, and the things that have happened, and even between us as friends, and coming back and always feeling compelled to keep doing the things that you do, you know, and work and bring awareness to the causes that you do. I think is so important. One of the main things to have you for, and the amazing work that you do. So I want to tell you that's amazing stuff you do for sure. You know, I appreciate that.
Thank
You
you.
remember the first time you met me?
At Joey's?
No.
No.
I believe the first time I met you, Joey, was like, you have to go see this dude perform at this house in the valley, and I had never met you. And I went to the guy that owned No Name's house, and he performed in that living room.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I had
Oh,
never
yeah,
met
yeah,
you
yeah.
before.
That's true.
Do you remember? I kept trying to connect you with Eddie. That's
Yeah. And I walked
That
in.
was the first one.
That's
And
no.
I walked into this house, and it's like 20 people, and I knew no one except the guy that owned the house because I had had drinks with him at No Name. And he's like, "What are you doing here?" I'm like, "Samuel J. invited me." I'm like, "Who is he?" He's like, "Right there." And I'm like, "Okay." And it was all warm, and it was great. I loved that night. The performance was amazing.
When we out of town, we were out of town, and I was trying to get you to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were going to meet me, but you had to leave. And
Yeah.
I sat there and listened to the show, and I was like, wow, that's amazing. I went home and, you know.
When did? Let
great.
me ask you this. When did you actually know you were conscious? I don't even know if we ever had that conversation. Like, when did you feel? Did you know what I'm saying? As far as when did you have that
That
awakening,
oh, well
or
moment.
don't you have to call it awakening, but that, you know, that feeling of, some people are born into it. I feel like Amanda Sage is, and you may be that way too. It didn't happen to me like that. But do you feel you kind of, when did you feel you started doing things that were more conscious? Because was there a Sam before the Sam?
Yeah, my experience wasn't like having an awakening or becoming conscious. I don't really relate to that experience. I know that like some of the people I most love in my life, like that's how they
That's
would
their deal.
that's how they would express that. I remember being 8 years old and like looking at this plant and just thinking like and then looking at my skin and just thinking how miraculous it was that something created like this totally unique leaf. And my hand was also like, you get like a handprint, you know, like of your own palm, and like how this leaf was completely unique. And it's hard to describe, right? I mean, but that was a moment that I felt totally connected to something, that in that moment I felt all my anxiety, all my fears, and just felt a really deep sense of belonging that was way grander scale than just like the walls of my own home or like with my family. It was like I'm part of this living world.
Yeah, this big universe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I guess that relationship to nature, if you like, was really nurtured through surfing and through, you know, growing up in a place where, you know, I was able to see, you know, sunsets and have a sister that was, you know, this is, you know, just even bringing the conversation to my awareness of where things come from, you know, like you ask the majority of young people where fruits and vegetables come from, they'd be like, the supermarket, and you're like, yes, but prior to this, it's like, well, like top shelf, bottom shelf, back of the supermarket, you know, it's like fridge, you know. And I feel lucky to have had an elder who was my sister at that time. Elder to her was my father. Elder to him was, right, it goes on through the generations. So I had a lineage, you know, in my family of people that were really connected to the land, that I was lucky enough to get a little bit of that, knowledge and sense of respect of that I can speak to, and that never went away. And when I discovered music, it was like the ultimate connection to the forces that give us life, basically. It doesn't need to be a spiritual thing, it's very scientific, you know. It's like music became a way of me saying thank you for being alive.
Right. And you did in Brazil, you started out though with you were a DJ, right? And then
Did you DJ?
I did not.
I didn't DJ,
Did
but I was an MC. Yeah, no,
MC,
that's
DJ.
A lot of people.
Okay,
yeah,
hold on
I
a
sang
second.
with DJs.
Is
Big difference.
Is it? I mean, yeah. So
Spinning
MC.
records or coming up with, you know, language.
The language.
lyrics.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
My
so
bad.
for example, you know, there'd be a beat like, and you're like, everyone, how we feeling? Stay with me.
I'm with.
And it's like, if everyone's feeling happy about their life right now, put your hands up. That was how
Right.
I
Okay,
originally,
got it. Yeah, yeah.
before I
MC.
played the guitar, I would host and write lyrics, and then the music came afterwards. But yes, so yeah, Brazil was later though. You know, like that was when I was 19. You know, so I had this upbringing in southern England, in Cornwall, which it's just such a you know, there are stones where I grew up that are so there are 13 lunar cycles. A lot of people think there's 12 because 12 months, but there's 13 lunar cycles per annum. And 4,000 or 5,000 years ago, just like, you know, all these different civilizations around the world were all tapped into something. You know, they were all, you know, like they all had very similar kind of calendars, and you know, they were connected to the notions of the seasons, and you know, where I'm from, you know, there's these stones, and when I was a kid, you know, my dad used to make me like put my hand on them, and I didn't really think too much of it, you know, but looking back on it, he was showing me the importance of these stones, and the reason I bring it up and why it's important in the question of like, you know, where does our consciousness come from? It's like those people all that time ago, like, you know, 4,000 or 5,000 years ago, had an understanding that on the 21st of June, you know, the mid-stone lines perfectly with the sun overhead at midday, which completely defines all of the calculated, you know, history of, you know, science, because if they knew that information then, you know, it wasn't Columbus and people that were finding out that the world was round, you know, all those centuries, millenniums later. So it just has this, it's, for anyone that's been there, just the place itself just lends itself to this really kind of like deep sense of connection with nature. And then, yeah, you know, then cities, it just felt really alien. I remember the first time I went to London, and like just all the concrete and everything was just like, it was pretty intense to like feel that at like 14, 15, and went straight into the fashion world, like being sprayed with all this hairspray, and it just like felt like pollution to, so it was pretty funny times trying to navigate as a young man through
Especially
the fashion
being
world.
open, because I asked that question, and you were raised open. If your dad had you touching stones at 7, and you were thinking you were a plant, you were pretty open.
Yeah.
I was one with the plant. Like, yeah, I wasn't going through that. I was on rocks and windows. So yes, that answers to that. Yes, you were open. Yeah, that's funny.
I love plants. I'm okay about that.
Plants
you know,
plants are amazing.
I'll hug a tree if you give me half an opportunity. I love trees too.
Trees are awesome. And what do you think? So
If
what's
that
going
makes
on
me
in
happy,
Brazil?
Yeah,
That's a big deal.
Yeah, it's another. The Earth is showing us signs all the time. You know, like they've been abusing. If we, you know, abuse and exploit, and you know, for long enough, there'll be a huge rupture in the consequences of those actions, and that's what's happening in Brazil. They've been, you know, the governments sell the forest. Amazon is for sale. The Amazon is currently being bought, you know, for timber, and there's very few kind of organizations big enough to stand in the way of such massive logging. Like, it's billions and billions of dollars of logging, and we could throw out names of different companies, but you know what you know, it just came to a head with these recent fires because they, you know, they've dammed the riverways, right? So rivers are not flowing as they normally would, so there's not as much water as there normally is in the soil. And then, you know, these fires catch out, and of course they're burning almost unnaturally to how they normally would, like the fires we have here in Malibu. You know, we took all the trees out the soil, so these fires are, you know, spreading more because of that. And mankind, every time we, you know, try and mess with nature in a greedy way, it kind of just backfires for us. Yeah. But backfires.
Yeah, let go.
So yeah, I mean, get me talking about rainforests, I'll be talking all day.
Yes.
Yeah, the signs are there, you know, for sure. They're very real, and nothing is isolated like in islands. You know, like the problem in the Amazon is affected by what we all buy daily. You know, when we go to buy furniture, you know, where is that wood from? You know, where some companies, you might just be buying a toothbrush or something from one shop, but that shop might invest some of its money in logging, and that's how we're all involved in creating the the world that we live in, which is also really
And then there's plastic from that toothbrush inside the ocean.
totally. And then there's also like, you know, we're all really empowered to be able to make a difference. I think that's the point. Like when people realize how connected we are to everything, it's really empowering. It's like, wow, my little part in this actually can transmit a difference.
No, for sure. And I think because of, you know, with music and how you do it and traveling so much that you're constantly spreading and, you know, that message for, you know, ocean awareness and or for kids. More so like, you know, because before, when you're, you know, when I'm looking at you just as a friend of what you're doing, like you're just as a friend, right? I'm not really looking because I'm thinking, he's having so much fun. And it is fun being a musician, but really what you're doing, it is work because you are out there really working and doing what you say, what you're doing, you know, regardless of anything else. That's what I do know you're doing, you know, and that's so important to stay out and keep on, keep up or kept up.
Well, on that note, at least you're doing what you love, right? You know,
Yeah.
making music and making a difference at the same time.
Yeah.
When did you start
Probably
surfing?
phenomenal.
But we all know that, like, you know, anything, you know, we're all figuring it out together. You know, I don't feel like I have all the answers. It's like you have to jump though at some point. You know, like if it's like I felt like I had safety nets, you know, ways of making money and things that I just wasn't that in alignment with or particularly that passionate about. Modeling was one of those things. It was just like, this is great, you know, family's really proud of me because I was making great money and traveling, but I didn't really believe in the contribution of that.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And if you think about it, I think the wealth in doing something that you believe in, you know, like is so powerful. If you go to work every day and you're doing things that you don't believe in, like every day doing stuff that you don't believe in, that I know that we all do, like I do, like I put petrol in my car, I pay taxes to a government that doesn't use its money completely ethically. You know, there's a lot of things, you know, that like I feel there's that we contradict ourselves in, but if you are in service or doing anything for your work that you actually believe in, even if it's making great connections and connecting people in with the music industry or, you know, building a platform. And I know that these projects can be harder to fund if they're not through the old paradigm of funding things, the sort of corporal setup that we have currently. But it's just a really wealthy feeling to be in total belief of what you're actually doing and how you live your life, how you show up.
Yeah.
You know, and I think we're all beginning to recognize that in our own different ways, and that's why a lot of people are putting their attention to, instead of what am I getting from this, what am I taking from this, what am I contributing? You know, what am I actually, by doing this, what am I contributing to? And of course that's a reciprocation, right? It's like basic healing. I mean, it's like if you do a one-on-one session with someone that's, you know, going through a struggle in their life, and for example you come up with a solution, you know, either mentally or physically to help that person. Wow.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It's amazing. And then you're like happy, you know.
You know what that reminded me
I
of?
want him to,
That's why
go
we're
ahead,
here.
I want him to.
That's why we're here.
That reminded me of that Bob Marley quote when he has that video that's been traveling around for years. It says, you know, you're doing well, are you rich? And he said, what do you mean, am I rich? Am I rich? Well, how? Like with money? No, I'm rich with love, you know? Because that's not how, that money doesn't make me rich.
Yeah, it's similar to the phrase that reminded me of, I'm so damn rich, all I have is, no, I'll come back to that one.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
So, yeah, I'm so damn wealthy, all I have is money. That's it.
Yeah, which isn't really going to serve you except to, you know, buy into the system
but we
to
need
a certain
it.
extent.
But we need it. And then, you know, on the other side, we don't want to get like, you know, like I felt like in the 90s, it was like, I was like this to the system. It was like Rage Against the Machine, fuck the system, like pointing the finger, you know. And now it's more like, well, all these systems are in place and they're just doing, you know, that's the program. Like make as much money as you can. Like McDonald's is an amazingly successful company in what they are able to take, for example. But you know, it's utilizing all these systems that are in place. I think artists that have platforms being responsible with what they speak about, food companies that are, taking, massive amounts of surplus food from the land. Like if Nestle, for example, started on one of their branches of water bottles, like would just
change,
use cassava or some alternative, like rather than us trying to start up a project that's like 20,000 people using this, in a privileged little area. If those guys with all those billions, if you're listening to this, would just step up and say, you know what, like we're gonna go for this, even if it doesn't make sense in the markets and all of that. The people will follow that. The people are waiting to buy that. People do not want to be contributing to polluting their own oceans consciously, like given the choice on a piece of paper. They choose it because it's the only thing in front of them. So it's like, as we were saying, it's like this platform is creating opportunities for people seeking alternatives and truth, to live in alignment with what you believe in, available, which is why I think it's a really, really important work that you are doing.
The whole thing, thank you. And is talking about the planet and all, even the way you speak, because when I first waking up and you get into the conscious community, it's just a little light and airy. For me, it was, but as I started to understand, I started to soften a little bit too, meaning it's just a little bit of the vibration. It's a vibration of love and the way your intention and what you do, and it was changing. And so when I met you, I just thought it was what you're doing is singing. Oh, he's singing that. We
should revisit the conversation about how we met a bit, because we started the interview, but
what are we doing? Let's do it.
I think it's, we're all being unified through this, right?
That's absolutely.
That's the bottom line. It's like the
reasons why we're here.
Yeah, whether it's we're all in our own ways becoming aware through our own experiences that it's important to take care of ourselves, take care of our families, take care of those forces, as I always say, that give us life. That isn't a hippy dippy thing. It's like without the forces, the elements, sun, water, the earth, we don't have life, and it was a basic responsibility of the warriors of old times and of our ancestors to look after those things. It's that simple. And we are just saying, this is important. It's like important. It's not telling people what to do. It's just raising an awareness that, these things are super important for your own well-being, for your own peace of mind, for our own peace of mind. So Joey and I feel we were really brought together because you were having these realizations in your life through your own journey, that what you were contributing, there was more to life than what you were actually contributing to. There was a bigger picture, and at that moment, your experience, I might be singing about, or I might be, inspired by something that you told me, and really my music is just, I'm just, like we were doing outside earlier, I'm listening to everyone's conversations and passions and what's of real importance and real value, and then I'm singing about those things. And then when I sang, of course, you related to the music because that was kind of where your experience was. I hope you followed that, because that's really important. And there's almost like a calling, I think, from people all over the world that are sitting in desks and their backs feel off, that are eating certain foods, that are living a life that just doesn't feel like a full life, a full existence. And, a lot of people are being forced to look outside of that limitation to the full expansion of their owning their gift of their life. And that, as I was saying, comes through connection with love and with nature and with, what we're really from. It's pretty simple.
And it leads me to, I think, having a Kundalini awakening, whatever it is that you want to call it, is when that happened to me is having those feelings and changing the way I viewed the world and the way I viewed people, and going to several mental institutions and seeing how they were treating me when I was going through a spiritual awakening, something that I was coming into something that could, and it is not could at the time was could, but the most amazing thing that could happen to me was me becoming part of this planet and universally understanding everyone and what we can do for each other, being of service and doing something on this planet. I have 4 kids that are younger that are going to be here when I leave. So when I started to understand that differently, but when I was seeing that people were asking if I was schizophrenic or if I was bipolar or a lot of these other symptoms that mirrored symptoms of going through a spiritual awakening. It is what led me to this show, because I feel that the most important thing, if in Western medicine, I went to go see a Sikh doctor the other day, an MD, and I told him I went through the process of what happened to me. And I wanted to kind of go through, like, what are you going to do? Because I wasn't going to go to a psychiatrist, right? So he looks at me and he goes, I'm an internist. You know, he does East and West medicine, but I was like, so now what? So what if I'm telling you I'm getting warm sensations going up and down my spine, and I'm not sure, but I'm having mood swings. I don't know what it is, racing thoughts. What do I do? He goes, I'd have to send you to a psychiatrist. I'm like, well, if you know this is spiritual, he is, I'm a doctor. So and just doing that, I was like, this is so important on so many levels, because there's so many people being misdiagnosed. Kids, bipolar, think about all the things people are being misdiagnosed because, like I said, we're spiritual beings, right? Having a human experience. That means we're passing through. The experience here is humans, and then we still go on. So that's important to understand and to treat people like that. It's just not, cutting things off or giving them medication, or why would we even stop somebody from having an amazing experience? Wait, we're telling people everyone's in search of what this is. I mean, really what it is a union with God. Because when that happens, you start to care about people and you want to be of service. That's the best way I can come up with what was happening to me. And then to find other people of different colors and different places, of people I wouldn't sit with and be like, yo, that guy feels like a brother to me. So I started to feel more love for people. It doesn't mean I like everybody. I love everybody, meaning I still have discernment, because even in the conscious community, like you said, it doesn't mean anything. That you have people doing shady shit, but that's their exercise. They're going to go through a learning process. So I think the point of not judging it, and now feeling much more grounded in what gave me that was Kundalini yoga. And lucky enough to have that, because by talking to a doctor who is a Kundalini teacher, but couldn't help me. And this guy's, so that's why that's what led me to this. I'm like, there's got to be something that we can do, especially someone like you, who people listen to talk about that, just to have a second opinion if people are having this, or if their kids are having, attention deficit, or if there's just something else, a second opinion, because they just don't have it.
Well, Tage's diagnosis was very different than his, right?
Oh, yeah.
When I took you in, I was like, I don't know if you know this, but when I introduced him to Tage, I was worried, because I was like, what's Tage going to think, And I'm like, I want you to meet my friend. He's really cool, but he's going through a lot, I'm like, so just be ready. And she was like, it's okay. And then after it was done, I go, hey, the next day I go, that was cool, right? Like, Joey? She goes, oh, he's great. He's just receiving so many downloads at a time that there's no way he can take it all in. He needs to just kind of slow down and breathe so that he can address the downloads separately. I mean, that's not, I'm ad-libbing here. I don't remember exactly. But that's really what it is. It's like you were overwhelmed with the spirit, or whatever you want to identify it as. And now you've learned how to kind of channel those things through meditation, and you're understanding kind of what's going on, and being led versus trying to lead or allow, or whatever those processes are that people identify. It's hard to allow, it's hard to say, okay, I'm going to allow my life to happen, instead of me making sure I get what I think I need out of everything.
But that's right. But you have society, so you allow it, right? You want to open up and let that happen. The most beautiful thing that can happen to a human being is allow that to happen. That's like the rite of passage. It's like puberty. But if you go to Western medicine or any place you're going to go, they're going to put you on a medication and tell you you're crazy. That's something wrong with society. Totally. That's something wrong with the way, and they know. I'm not going to say, I'm not trying to pose anything, but that's an issue. And not saying let's just change it. So if everyone kind of said together, this is something we should do, write opinion letters from attorneys, we have to have second opinions on these things, because it's like you keep leading us in the wrong direction. So if we keep following, who's the fool?
Yeah, exactly. The supply and demand is really interesting, and that's where change has always happened. You've always got the most radical people talking, like the Einsteins of the past, that are just labeled insane, that's preposterous. How could, you know, like DMT or something from a frog cure psychosis? You know, because that idea in itself it undermines all of these other systems that we've brought up in the pharmaceutical world.
Yeah.
So it's like, and put ego aside, it's like that's where we evolve with no ego, because it's like, oh, actually, this is something that is progressive and can help people and is natural and is something. And I just, by the way, threw out the idea of something really extreme, like the, you know, salivation of an amphibian, which is, as some of you know, the DMT that is being used, and I've witnessed, you know, in rehabilitation centers, used to help people have a breakthrough, to break out of their own build-up of trauma that has just been oppressed by the use of certain medications rather than released. And it just comes, I'm going to keep repeating myself probably, but it just comes back to nature. It's like,
it's important though.
Yeah, if you look at deer, you know, when the fight or flight thing, it's like, you know, they get rid of that anxiety. You know, they just run away from a predator and they don't like harbor the fear. And I think the human condition, we have this tendency, all of us, you know, this isn't anyone higher or lower talking to anyone. It's like we all have a tendency to harbor, you know, trauma and emotions and anxiety and kind of like tension. And when we're in school, do you remember having the class that was like, you know, hey children, this is how to deal with fear and disappointment, or hey, this is how to let go of nervous tension. This is how to deal with your emotions. I didn't get those classes, you know. I was never shown any of that. But if you look at the teachings of Shambhala, which was another way that we united, that is what they taught their children. The chapter, fear and renunciation. These are teachings, and it's like, you know, we're sitting right now in this beautiful space, which downstairs they're probably doing meditation right now, and meditation is one tool. You know, meditation is one tool to find that neutral place. But, you know, most of us, and myself guilty, 100% guilty included, I keep my mind so constantly busy that sometimes like all of these, everything just escalates to this place that's so unnecessary. And if I just manage to get that moment where I can just be still, you know, breathe, it's not me forcing it to happen. Like naturally your own being will start relaxing. You know, the nervous system fires off more, you know, receptivity when we are still in our mind, you know. So it's not like we don't have to force all this stuff to happen. You don't have to do a shit ton of plant medicine and, you know, all this stuff. You just, it's just that the body will do it. The body will do it for you if you give it the opportunity, you know, just by lying down, you know, the lumbar spine, thoracic spine, cervical spine, all being in the same alignment and breathing deeply into your abdomen, things start happening in your body to release your tension. You know, it's magical. The fabric of life is already there. We have to put ourselves in position. The wind is already blowing. We just have to position our sail, you know? So that's where I think that I don't ever really use the term, but this conscious community movement, I see a need to remember that, because there's a lot of like forcing upon people, like you need to do this and this to be, you know, consciousness is all there is, you know, it's whether we like remember to tap into it or not. And disconnection and dis-ease is just where we disconnect from that and stop living in harmony with what is already, you know, with us. And I don't know if it's a good moment, but you know, this foundation is a foundation I work with called Blue Sphere Foundation. And if you look at the coral reef systems, you know, that's what they are. They're harmonious. We've been here for what, 10,000 years? You know, 20,000, some theories, but a small amount of time in the whole, you know, scheme of things.
Yeah.
And there's no medication for fish, meaning God doesn't make mistakes. He didn't say we're going to make, and all of a sudden in the year 2000, everyone's going to be depressed and you have to take antipsychotics. And so what I'm saying is that everything is here.
Yeah, we were given everything we needed
We
to
were
heal
given
ourselves, whether it
paradise,
be
man.
plant, whether it be breath, whether it be silence, whether it be being still. And man has come in and capitalized off of things that do not benefit us as humans. And the system treats but not cures, because you can't create the cure. I mean, you can, but in theory, the cures are here. If you just, like you said, the DMT,
That's the heartbreaking thing.
or herbalists, you know,
Yeah.
like Dr. Sebi, you know, regardless of what people's opinions are, these herbs are here, and in combinations and certain methods of taking them, they will heal almost anything that any ailment you have.
Absolutely.
But instead, we go and we get Vicodin, or we go and we get
Because
these
we have to, 'cause
antidepressants,
it's controlled.
which actually they keep it on going. They don't stop it, because you're not clear-minded enough to be able to see what's right in front of you, or actually right within you.
Until you consume it.
Because a lot of things
yeah.
we might take plant medicine, or you may say something about going through an experience like this, but that exactly what you're saying is it's not controlled and regulated by the government, so they're never going to do it. Things are opening up to where they're, psilocybin in Colorado.
Not sure.
Is it called? It's a couple.
Yeah, I believe it just got
But it's opening
legalized.
up, and I think there's a book, and somebody else will want to interview about post-traumatic stress disorder and how plant medicines have helped do that. And why were mushrooms so illegal? Why were they? It's just because of what it was opening up. They don't want.
It's exactly the same with.
It was they.
Yeah, they. But there's the
You'll watch that one, right?
Well, we own the economy. The they thing is, I'm glad you brought it up, because there's a lot of people like there's this elite kind of, whatever your beliefs are, whether you think there's an elite group of people that are dictating what everyone consumes, open to it. But there's also the part where we are the economy. If all of us didn't go to the banks tomorrow, they'd shut down for one day, 24 hours, no transactions, the whole system collapses.
Yep.
So, and coordinating that might be quite difficult. We'll try and do it on this podcast. No, but seriously, it's like
You know what would happen if everybody at the same time, what you just said, I'm just going to work off what you just said, is because of what's going on in the United States and people watching this happen. And a lot of the things that are happening is everyone standing together, just at a point,
It's fear. We're all paying into that because it's fear. Fear keeps people plugging into that because it's fear of losing your assets, fear of losing your pension, fear of losing,
Your job, your status,
fear
your
is
friends.
Fear is the one thing that's keeping people plugged into that.
Yeah.
Coming back to it though, so if any of you ever have heard of Paul Segment, is an incredible man I've yet to meet. I'm hoping to get him here on the podcast. We should definitely.
What's his name? Say his name again.
Paul Segment. He's I hope I'm saying his name right, but he's a specialist in fungi, and this guy's like, it's so good because he's so down the road scientist. So he's not like all ethereal and like people can really understand him, and he is basically studied and given research for 40 years on the properties of
Is he working with
mushrooms.
Andrew? Andrew Oman and Sam Salisbury? They're doing that.
No, he's like a guru of the whole movement with single cell fungi. So the properties of fungi, and like we all grow up like mushrooms. It's like I was just completely, even up until recently, unaware of like these. So he does some of the tests just to get straight to the point, so you can understand these. This is some of the oldest organisms that have been on the planet. Like these things have survived every Holocaust, every, evolutionary, like through the dinosaurs, they've survived all of it. And some of the things he's showing is it's like there's certain strains of fungi that you put petroleum and oil, and they are able to internally, take out all the putridities of those liquids, and actually, afterwards you have a healthy little kind of bloom of different flowers and stuff. So it's literally like we already have all the solutions underneath our feet in stuff that's not even worth 10 cents. That is literally responsible for communicating all of this tree to this tree, internal network that we don't even understand because it's so advanced. It's taken billions, trillions of years to form, that keeps everything connected. I know that everyone's probably thinking about Avatar right now, but we inspired the Avatar.
No, but hold
not
on.
the
But
other
this
way
is
around.
important what you're saying, because what you're saying is the most incredible
And
thing.
we disconnected with it. We're the only organism on the planet that disconnected
But
to
imagine what you're saying is when someone
Straight
awakens
up.
to understand your instrument, it is like what you're saying.
That's what
You're
I'm saying.
saying something, and everyone's like still not listening. Like, listen exactly to what he's saying, that this is all within us.
Yeah.
Like, that's what we're saying. We're like walking
He
around going,
could-
wow, that'd be cool if I could have it. Wow, out there, that sounds really, that sounds fucking cool. It's all in us. So you're saying something as if it's out, like, but because this is what we're saying. That's the whole, that's the Tootsie Pop drop at the center of the center.
The
You know what I
Tootsie
mean?
Pop drop.
Yeah, that's the center of what we're talking about, for real. To have that and feel that.
Absolutely.
It sounds like a movie, but it's real.
And how do we do that? How do we support each other to remember that we are all connected? You know, because fear is separation. As soon as you want exclusivity or a VIP section of your club or different people, all of that, it's fear. What are you afraid of? Why are we afraid to embrace each other fully and accept each other? Because there's no point, there's no like a flock of birds, you know, in migration. It's like they go together, you know?
We're going to create a viral campaign, Wake Up.
And awesome. And when that front bird starts drifting out ahead of the rest of the flock, it is capable of racing ahead. It doesn't, because it understands that it needs the rest of the flock to make the rest of the migration. Trees do the same thing. Probably the best example is the redwood, right? Biggest roots in the soil, biggest tree in the world. And, you know, it's capable of taking like all the water around it, you know, but it doesn't, because it knows that if it does, you know, the other
trees suffer. Yeah.
Well, the other trees suffer, but the other smaller, it needs the other smaller plants because they have specific, like, you know, anti-parasitical properties for the bark of the tree. Like, it's all, you know, it's all just in this really, really cool balance. And I think children especially need to learn that, and that's an important part of our responsibility as adults, is to carry on these teachings, these tools, as we were saying earlier, to be like, you know, what are we, you know, how are you going to deal with, you know, tragedy, loss, pressure, you know, all these things in your life. And whilst I'm on that subject, I'm playing at a really amazing festival for Los Angeles by this wonderful group of people, which is called Hope, on the 22nd of September. And that really, that whole platform is just inviting young people to go out that don't have, you know, that eating, honestly, you know, generalizing a little bit, but children that haven't been exposed to nature, that are eating tons of sugars and fats and just hanging out in urban scapes all the time, and taking those kids like for a surf or a hike, you know, allowing those children that have been labeled with schizophrenia, that have been, you know, schizophrenia and all these different, you know, which isn't serving them, you know, where is that helping them? And so there's a million examples, right? But like all over the world, people are starting to realize that these are the solutions. Is you know, the solution is to coming back to working in harmony with what we already were gifted and inherited in this planet, you know. And it's different in different ways, but it's the same. Whether it's yoga or music, and you know, people are seeking. We're all seeking, like I said to Joy, like people are seeking the song that I haven't even written yet, you know, or we're all waiting to find out about. You know, we're searching for
our union with God. We keep coming.
Yeah,
we keep skirting around. It's that. I'm telling you. It's that. And I use another word for it. It's being when you wake up and you finding your heart opens up. There's no better feeling, because that's when you start to feel to help other people. All the things that you're talking about is the root of it, like the Death Star. You call it, like I said earlier, is when you look at that. That's the thing you're looking at. Is Western medicine has to change that so that kids and other people can go through this process and enjoy it, so that they can enjoy the planet and the ocean and understand and be connected to what is theirs.
Well, you know what I like is, I think, you know, what Samuel said was like his moment was when he realized his handprint was one, that was his significant piece, right? And then every leaf was different, right, to identify.
And Joey said that I realized that I was a plant.
Yeah.
Thanks,
you know.
bud.
gotta have a sense of humor here. But that was key for me, because what I heard was you became one with the universe in that moment. You realized that you were part of a much bigger thing than the confines of your family and your house and your school and your friends. You know, and I think it's important. You know, you talk about the kids. It's like, if we implemented that type of learning process, whatever it is, whether it's yoga or meditation or music or in the art, and they realized how important it was to identify their relationship with nature, with water, with plants, the whole system would be upside down to what we know it now. The new paradigm would be in fast forward, because I had an experience. I went to Golden Bridge with Tage, and I was walking down the sidewalk with my girlfriend, and I told this in another podcast, and there was a branch in the way of the sidewalk, and I broke it. And Lisa was like, "What are you doing? Oh my gosh." And I, at the time, like, I freaked out. I was like, I didn't get it. But hearing you, I get it, and I get it more and more, and I keep being reminded. And it is that message that, like, you can't just pollute. You can't just ingest anything. You have to be very careful, because if you do, it's poison, you know, and you're not acknowledging what we've been giving with Mother Earth and the water and the ocean. Yeah,
it's poisoning our own water, right? Like the water we're drinking, and it's good to come back to, like, you know, the model of self-respect. You know, the Lakotas have this phrase, which is like, it's impossible to disrespect the earth if you respect yourself. So if you fully respect yourself, then you will be respecting the earth. But if you're, you know, like I said earlier, like taking something that has poisoned the soil, you'll be poisoning your tummy. Yeah. If you decide to take something and consume it that has been good for the soil, then that will be good for your body. It's like that kind of respecting, and then we all need to help each other. This is the thing. I think the old paradigm is like going to see the doctor, a superior wise person, and telling you what to do. I just think we all need to help each other with compassion and understanding, rather than exclusivity of like who's awoken. Like being awake can be a sense of privilege as well, you know, but it's a sense of, you know, all of us coming together and taking responsibility for our own actions, and knowing that we can all make a difference to the overall contribution to the greater good of things. I think from that place, it's just really empowering. And you know, the project that we're working on, the Young Elders, is all about that. You know, it is a workshop that I put together that was inspired by, I was first asked by Sea Shepherd, some of you may know about. I've been on several expeditions around the world directly trying to stop whaling with, and other, you know, sins of humanity against the ocean is the best way to put it. You know, and we take these workshops into the school, so it's kind of fun, make it fun, you know. It's
yeah,
like all
sounds
the kids,
amazing.
it's like yeah, let's all be, you know, who loves the ocean, and like all the kids are like, you know, never met a child that didn't love the ocean, or at least not one that's been lucky enough to be there, you know. I know that some children haven't even seen an ocean, and I've taken kids that first time in their lives that they saw an ocean, like coming down the hill, you know, don't want to swear, but like, what, you know, like what is that, you know? And sorry, coming back to the young elders, like workshop, if you like, is just this really fun workshop where we ask these questions. We're like, does anyone know where food comes from? Does anyone know where their clothes come from? You know, and is it okay to tell our children the truth? Is it? Am I allowed to show, like, you know, say someone has a bacon sandwich, like this is where you're, don't. Yeah. Don't show them that. Yeah. Don't show them where all those pigs are. But that is reality. That's what we're doing. So it's like, what do we do? Lie to the children? You know what I mean? And a lot of parents have actually wanted me not to tell. I mean, obviously I'm not going to these and showing really explicit videos, but with some of the older kids, even like 14, 15, it's like their parents don't want them to know that bacon is a pig. That is so disconnected.
Yeah, I showed my daughter a
and then they go see Babe.
They go see Babe. But it was just one example, you know, so we're just trying to put the connection. Sorry, go on.
I showed my daughter a documentary. I didn't show her, but we were watching a Netflix documentary about, you know, the meat industry. And it showed, you know, cows being hung upside down, and it showed the actual manufacturing and you she cried during the film and didn't eat meat for months. I mean, she's back eating meat again, but that freaked me out. Like, it's back to being a parent and wanting to keep your kids not in the truth, and it's like my ex-wife was mad that, why would you do that? She's only 10. I'm like, it's probably the best thing I could have done for her. Absolutely. Even though she did not make a choice to stop eating meat, and she's consciously eating meat, knowing what's going on, at least the knowledge is there, which is one building block to potentially changing things for her in the future, or some of the decisions that she makes. So I'm wholeheartedly believe that at a young age we should let our children know, because the children are the future.
Whatever it looks like, we have to embrace truth. You can't, like, delusion, and deception, at that level, like, in any village or anything, like, children growing up would see all those practices.
Yeah, of course.
And that's where you got the respect for the animal, because you can't take an animal's life without actually being moved by it and disturbed by it. So people practicing that have desensitized their own spirit to a point where they don't even feel it anymore, because we've disconnected from the sovereignty of that process. But this just going back to the young elders. So the young elders is, we make it fun, and it's crazy. I've been to different schools all around the world with it, and I went to this green school in Bali. And it's like, you're turning up and you're like, children, this is what climate change is, and they're like, I've just wrote a letter to the MP of England and have a petition with and they're already like, they're teaching you like what's happening,
That's
and
awesome.
Like, the schooling,
is that is this, they're totally on board and on their own without being forced and pushed in that direction. They've been very fortunate enough to have these teachings, but it's a non-waste school, so they have non-waste, and there's a few other schools. But seeing children that are genuinely like, what are you doing? Like, dolphins and whales are the most incredible, important thing that we have in our whole universe. You can't, having them step into that and understand that is awesome, and that is happening. And there are other areas, that I met one kid that thought all whales were in aquariums, literally. He didn't know that there was an ocean, that these, so it's telling, whatever it looks like, one of the most difficult things I ever spoke out about publicly was when I went to Japan, which was a risk with my own visa and all kinds of things out there. We weren't criticizing the Japanese government or criticizing any establishment. We're just showing people truth. And people are so inconvenienced by the truth. The truth is that, there are still certain chewing gums that you may eat that have whale blubber in them, and whales are still being hunted. Whales, one topic, right? Shark finning. It's 150,000 shark fins docked a month. 150,000 a month in Hong Kong. That's just in Hong Kong.
Yeah, that's horrible.
The ocean cannot sustain, like, it's not in 10 years, if we don't act. It's now, like, it's yesterday. It is literally like, we have to change our whole model of approach. You don't just go in Whole Foods, grab a bunch of stuff, throw it in, put it in your mouth, not think about it, eat it. Like, it's what is it? Where is it from? What is it doing to my body? What is it doing to the planet? Those questions, ask yourself. Everything you're doing in your relationships, is this relationship good for me? What is contributing to? Why am I, ask. If you're honoring yourself, like the Lakota said, if you're honoring and respecting yourself and your decisions with your partners, with your relationships, and I haven't got all this figured out, but like, that is the beautiful framework that we inherited in this planet. And if we can work in orchestration with that, you can guarantee that you will have a full harmonious existence, and be living to your full capacity, I believe. And that's what we're all figuring out, how to do that, and I think it's great that people look up to different, inspirations in the community. I mean, I recently met Leonardo DiCaprio, which was really interesting.
Was he hot?
He was hot.
Yeah.
He was hot. He was, he's a beautiful brother. But the point being is that, like, foundations like this, so we talked about the Amazon earlier, and we talked about the coral reef, and the reality is it's like there's a bidding game going on for the wealthiest ecosystems on the planet right now, and some of these celebrities that have been super, gifted with their talents and being able to, create this abundance in their lives and be financially blessed, shall we say, are putting their belief and their funds and their resources into buying coral reefs and things. And some of the ways it's happening is like this foundation takes people of influence, people that are in a position, CEOs or founders of companies. I went to West Papua with a few of those people that developed the iPhone, people that own parts of Google, etc. Once those people saw the manta rays and the beauty of those coral reefs and systems, of course they are like moved into action, and they've literally bought hundreds of thousands of square acres of coral reefs so that the logging and the dynamite fisheries are not able to buy them, and those are some of the only areas that are being protected. But isn't that crazy? And yet we're already like at that point. That's what's happening. That's not an idea. That is literally what's happening. We are relying on wealthy individuals in the world to save the coral reefs and rainforests by buying large areas of land and coral reef so that they do not get sold by the governments who are in low subsidy to logging and dynamite. I couldn't believe that. Like, I've just literally learned that, being present, seen it, sat in rooms where those decisions are being decided. We've got the governor of West Papua, which is one of the richest coral reef ecosystems, coming over to Los Angeles, coming to our shows, coming to our events, and being supported by actors and actresses and different people of financial abundance that are supporting him in buying huge areas back from the Indonesian government so that they do not ruin those reefs.
Yeah, to protect them.
Yeah, that's what's happening right now.
I have a family house in St. Croix, Virgin Islands, U.S. Virgin Islands, and there was one of the most famous snorkeling spots called Buck Island. Everyone came from around the world to go. Now the entire reef is dead. You go under and it's just all white. It's like light brown. There's no life, no activity at all there.
Totally.
And it's not restorable. Like, you can't just go and add water or squirt a chemical in. It's not restorable.
That's everywhere.
We could name all the reefs and it would be really depressing, and it's real, and that's
Sorry.
cool. No, thank you for bringing that. But actually, our really good friend Terry Lilly. So we happen to have a mutual friend. Joey introduced me to him. Amazing man that literally has done the research. It's not so much kind of alive his work in it is. He's a documentary filmmaker, but he's an incredible marine biologist. He wakes up daily and like counts different seaweed families, and he lives out in Hawaii. And he's honestly one of the nation's, world specialists in, what is influencing the reefs, what is actually the main contributing factors. And of course, freshwater runoff. When we change a river, literally like changing the direction of a river can kill a reef. It's every time we go in and like mess with anything that's been set up for millions of years, there's normally a consequence in the ecosystem. And what I learned when I went to Hawaii, and he was kind of like my mentor for a couple of weeks, was that there's this place in the Philippines. It's a really famous case study, Palau, the west side of northwest part of that. That's chain of islands, and it was fascinating to learn that. All they actually did, man, was like they just banned like about 8 or 9 of these certain pesticides that the farmers were using. They just were like, they managed to get this ban, and the farmers actually conformed to it and were like, they use these other pesticides, not the really harmful ones, right? Just that alone, in 3 months was like a 50-60% increase on the reefs. So if we stop poisoning the planet, it will actually rejuvenate itself. And I hear what you say, because like sometimes coral reefs are like...
Yeah, I believe it was water temperature is what...
Totally.
St. Croix.
I mean, definitely some reefs die, and then it's going to have to a reintroduction of coral reefs. We're also growing reef guys in laboratories. Which
What's
I know
what's that company that makes man-made reefs?
That's what he's talking about.
Yeah, there are several that I know of.
Chevron
Yeah.
was actually trying to do it out, like, El Porto. I think it was Chevron, because there was a surf break out there. So they were trying to create a man-made reef, I think, because of oil spills or maybe money that they had to put back into the ocean for things that maybe damage they had done. But I don't even know if that reef is supposed to be like an amazing surf like reef or something out there. But I don't think it got done.
This is the moment we're living in. It's the most phenomenal time, because we still essentially live in a healthy world. Just about, it's still there. There are places where there are still 28 feet manta rays but they won't be there. They won't be there.
Are you're familiar with the nuclear waste over in San Onofre?
Yeah.
Want to talk about that a little bit?
It's not like in a field like where I have much expertise. I know that, they basically have several nuclear warheads buried in front of the reef at, it's that famous surf break,
Is it Cardiff or?
No, it's
not
Trestles. Yeah,
Trestles.
just up by Trestles. Yeah, I mean,
they're trying to get them music, but yeah, they're trying to get them to move it, but they're saying,
it's a good symbolism, right? Like, we're just bury the problem, and put a sign up, and it'll be fine. It's not
the case.
Yeah, we can't bury our waste in the earth. We also can't bury our waste. We can't put it out into space, because the amount of fuel that we burn up in rockets sending trash, and also it's like, sending trash to space, it's like, it's the epitome of not being responsible for ourselves, So, yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see so many of us genuinely so moved by what's happening. And, I was with Paul Nicolin recently, who is the number one, it's funny when you say it like that. He's one of the most followed wildlife photographers in the world, but he's an amazing man. He just happens to have the world's attention right now, National Geographic for I don't know how many years, and he was saying to me, he's this guy that's, filmed the snow leopards and been up with like starving polar bears, and, took the starving bear photo that was like the climate change kind of, and he's a massive inspiration to me. I can't even believe that, I have a friendship with this guy now, and he's inviting me to do some things with our music and video stuff, and he is just, he's essentially a photographer, and yet he's meeting with like, Putin and some of the presidents of these countries to show the story, to show the people, to show all of us, I guess, but also to show men that are in power, women that are in power, people in power, how incredibly wealthy their land is and their water is, and their, and showing them that narrative and be like, this is what you're going to destroy if you sign this legislation right here. You sign this for $4.5 billion, this tar sands agreement here, that's fine. But just know that, like, over here, like, this is have a look at this, watch this video. I think that's so incredible that like that's even possible for a photographer to be showing presidents
absolutely
a narrative of what their world could look like, and that is changing legislations. Literally, their film in Mexico about the whale sharks, you want to see a whale shark all tangled up in tuna lines trying to breathe through the top of its mouth? It's crushing to your soul. It doesn't matter who you are. People cannot deny that. And that is a story that a lot of activists, call them what you want, passionate people, environmentally oriented people are telling that story. And that story is not stopping. We are going to keep bringing our voices to the bows of the boats. We're going to keep bringing our voices to the GMO farms. We're going to keep bringing our voices. We just have to keep bringing our voices. It's not violence. We don't fight back. It's just tell the people the truth, tell the children the truth. Let's all just be real with each other, as we were saying earlier. And that's cool. That's an exciting conversation. I personally am excited about talking about what's real on the planet rather than ignoring what's real,
That's awesome. Thank you. That was awesome. So you have your guitar with you. You gonna play some music today?
Joey. Right to it.
Sorry if
Yeah.
I'm talking too much. I get really passionate.
No, I mean, okay. Look, I traveled with Sam, and I know, like, so the other day I went up to Sam, and this was yesterday, and I said I have an idea for a song, and I start going over it with him, and you don't realize he's listening. He's listening as you're talking, so you're going through it. Because I've traveled with him as he created music. You know, I'd come in sometimes, and he would just be, you know, just butt naked, just sitting there with his guitar and going. And I remember in Indonesia coming up with his seconds, but the song, and he started going. And I go, I guess this is where it happens. And we both were sitting there while he was making music, just sitting there naked. Indonesia, perfect surf, by the way. It was beautiful surf. First time I'd been to Indonesia.
I have no recollection of hanging out with Joey naked.
He
but
was.
It's hot in Bali, so it's a small possibility.
Yeah.
He was definitely naked. But it was amazing that how you come up with just anything, just off a conversation, and be able to play and turn that into music. That is truly a gift.
No pressure.
I'm sure you're used to
Well,
it.
why don't we just make up a song? We're not live on air, or we might be live on air.
No, we turned the cameras off. Go ahead, go for it.
We did not turn the cameras off.
Oh, you have a space between song?
I do, but it's not finished.
All right,
Yeah, a little bit of it.
we're gonna work on it.
You got lyrics to it and everything?
Yeah, it's.
Yeah.
I'll give you a little bit of that one. Hold on.
Stay now, my son. This place now, the land belongs. And I left your arms like branches, so that new life, autumn leaves can grow. This is where I'll be, and I'll find me always here. Space now all between, holding back of years. Connected in the light, that be dancing between us. This is where we find our home. I've been caught in all directions lately. Stars, they align and they move us, yeah, move ever closer. And I've been caught in all directions lately, yeah. Stars align and they move us, yeah, move ever closer to love, hey, move ever closer to trust now. The place where pain's released, always bring this warm and finds its peace. This is where we stay in the cold and change. Holding in my hand and holding the blow stains. This is where I be in the space between. Space now between us, yeah. And I've been caught in all directions lately. Stars, they align and they move us, yeah, move ever closer. And I've been caught in all directions, oh, lately. Stars when they move and we all move as they align. They align with us, move ever closer to love. closer.
Something like that.
Wow.
That was cool.
Look, Joey, I lit up. I lit up. You know what I had when you were doing that? I had a vision that you played that at Agape.
Cool.
I really did. I'm
down.
telling you. I was like,
What's
I just,
that brother called? Reverend.
yeah, man.
Yeah,
we're
Michael
gonna
Beckwood.
have
He's
the
gonna be-
Rev's
yeah.
gonna come in and
I
talk
love
with
him.
us.
What's his name?
Also, Sam
Michael
is going to be
Beckwood.
performing
Michael
Yeah.
Beckwood.
November 16th with us.
Hey, but listen, if I can set something up for you to come and play at Agape, Samuel, would you?
November 16th.
November,
Yes.
not September. November
you.
16th.
Hey,
Yes.
would you play
Of
Agape?
course.
Have you ever?
No, but I had a great connection with.
Okay. So listen, I just have a feeling I'm not Joey. I don't have anyone talking to me, but I've been going for 10 years, Samuel, and it was my thing. I'm like, I really want to get the Rev in the room and talk with us.
Awesome.
And I got a call 2 days ago to do art in the Rev's office at the new office building, which was great. And now this could be the third piece to that puzzle because I love the music there, but I also they need I would like to see a little more diversity, and I think you'd be perfect there. I think they would love you.
Yeah, he's actually invited me kind of
should do it.
openly to go and play, but I
Well,
just never
come on,
lined
brother,
up.
let's do this.
Let's do it.
Also, talk about a little bit about art show music.
On the 16th, we're doing an art show.
Absolutely.
I mean, my
Yeah.
thing is I've been in the art business for like 25 years in the art community here in Los Angeles. I'd like to think that I've done some really great things as far as like
Absolutely.
donations for cancer and other benefits. Me and Joey did the homeless thing last year or 2 years ago. And this year we're proud because we've put together a really great group of artists, visual artists, but also musical artists to come in and really help us kind of make some noise, to what we're going through. There's a lot of touch points we're dealing with. One is the mental wellness piece.
Ocean conservation. And
Ocean.
yeah.
And
Have
then
you come and
also
talk?
solar. Acon's a partner in this thing. We're going to be doing Lighting Up LA, hopefully. We're inviting out the mayor and some other people. So it'd be great to have you out,
Love
because
to be honored. Be
your
awesome.
voice is wonderful. Like it, I got chills. I still got them, and I'm grateful that you're a part of this thing.
Thank you, brother.
That's how I got naked in Bali. He started singing
Hold
like
on, I
that.
thought he was naked. Now, who was naked? Let's get naked right now. You know what I mean? Like all three of us. I think that'd be a great shot. That clip would get downloaded.
I gotta tell you something.
You want me to
funny.
start?
So I was
We don't
telling.
need to do that. That's the whole point.
So in
But I'm
lightness-
down. I'm just saying, like, I'm not afraid.
If you've just joined us, by the way, we've been having really intelligent conversations. I'm just kidding.
But Sam's natural. He like walks around naked. He's like Burning Man did. He walks around with like rollerblades naked in his guitar.
Let's just go there.
Yeah, where are we going? Yeah,
what
where
is
are we
a
going?
Burning Man dude?
A Burning Man dude. I'm just. Yeah.
Is it?
Are you going? Are you going this
I
year?
actually am going to Burning Man this
You're
year.
in, you're out.
Yeah.
I just want to know.
Are you playing?
I am playing. I'm going to play music. Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. You don't know me very well,
Okay.
but you do know that I'm a little different when it comes to this, right? I'm trying as hard as I can to dive deep, but I keep getting stopped. Do you think
Good.
I'm a Burning Man dude, or do you think I'm?
It's just like there isn't a Burning Man dude.
That was just the thing. I thought it was
That's-
like, are
no,
you?
this is
That's a
the-
good sticker. Are you a Burning Man
I want
dude?
to talk about this right now. Like, what is it? What does it mean to like I'm a conscious guy? Okay,
It's
firstly,
like-
or a Burning Man guy, or do you think I am a no-name guy? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's look, LA is indulgent. Doesn't mean you have to be an indulgent if you're living in LA. I get like stick going back home. I was like, what are you doing in LA, man? Like LA is full of like celebrities are really into themselves and whatever, like vanity and ego.
Selfie takers.
I'm like, you don't have to partake in that.
Yeah.
Right.
Burning Man is full of a lot of indulgence. It's full of a lot of very non-friendly environmental stuff,
But there's good things.
Unenvironmentally
But it's
friendly,
but it's a
friendly.
self-awareness. What I
You
meant
don't
by
have to
that.
partake in that.
No, you don't.
You can be you. This is the thing, guys. We can
Right.
all be us wherever we are, whatever we, like I know we associate ourselves with different organizations and platforms, but you
But
don't,
that's
you
like
don't wear
because
the
Burning Man's like
t-shirt
the
of it.
pinnacle for not like a not
Pinnacle.
like no, but you know what I'm saying.
He
What is
said
the other word?
that. There's
Yes,
something
it-
going on here today.
What?
You said
It's
pinnacle.
called, okay, I'm just going to clear this up.
Pinnacle?
When you
What's the
mess up a
word?
word like that, it's not dyslexia.
Huh?
It's called spoonerisms. It is. This is actually
All
a
right.
thing. Yeah, it's like
Pinnacle?
if you like
No,
Ray
you said-
Charles, you say May Rawls.
Pinnacle. Well, yeah, the
Pinnacle moment.
Like the okay, it's like that to kind of point to. I think for people that you look at that and go, oh, those are people spreading self, whatever it is, conscious. That's what people, if you're not a conscious person, the first thing you talk about is Burning Man. They say you're a burner. So I don't,
I'm just saying we're not reflected by our governments. Okay, here's a great example. I'm walking in Topanga. I'm glad that we had can we keep
sure.
talking?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, cool. Walking in Topanga, and this woman was like, oh, you just hate us, don't you? Like, and I was like, I could have walked past, right? I was more like moved by it than triggered by it. It wasn't like, who's she doing? I wasn't triggered. I was just moved. I was like, that was sad. I don't even know this woman. So this is really important. So I go over and say, would you mind, like, could I just speak to you for a moment? Because that felt really off. And she's like, got this newspaper in her hand, and she's like, this is like ruining my life. And it's like, Americans all wanting, and she was Mexican, and she was like, all wanting us to leave this country. And she was really harboring the sadness of this situation, which is real for her.
It's real for all these just for what's going on. People can we come into your house and take you out, and you're done.
Totally. And we broke it down. We had this moment. It wasn't easy because she was really angry, and not that I said like not it. Just for the record, like I'm not from America, but even if I was, and even if this isn't the reflection. This newspaper isn't the reflection of what all these people think. Like we can't be looking at governments making decisions and then like, oh, Americans, and that's the danger, with leadership and everything, is it's like people think that you are adopting the same mentality as your president or your MP or
because we voted him in, so that's.
Did we though? That's another subject.
But regardless, that's on a big scale, right? So you can see how that's all. There's hatred being created where there's no need for it. There's wars being created where there's actually no difference in opinion or no real problem. Yeah. And I think that in small talk, even when we're talking about like festivals or Burning Man people, whatever we're just talking about, it's like, I think it's more like you showing up as you show up and doing what you believe in, and then if you do that and it is out of it's conflicting with what you're seeing, and you're not it's what am I trying to say? Sorry, it's like if we want to make change and if we want to we have to accept all the things that are in the world.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's really hard. It's like I find it so hard to accept everything that goes on in Burning Man, if you want to know the truth. Like, it is really sad, and it's really heartbreaking, it's really wasteful, it's really all those things. But it's also amazing. There's also a lot of people releasing a lot of their real life traumas, letting go of lost sons, daughters, people that are showing up in their truth. There's a lot of people that aren't wasteful and aren't necessarily mirroring the overall facade of what Burning Man is portrayed in the media, right? And that's the thing. If you convince yourself, right, that Burning Man is that, or LA is this, or whatever, you will never see the light.
It really is, yeah.
The light of that place.
Well,
You're just not open to it.
Yeah, but here's the thing.
So we're
it's
all
like
creating
it's like being your authentic self.
Yeah.
And if you go there and you're your authentic self, you're going to find other people that are like you being their authentic selves, creating your mutual authentic experience versus submitting or succumbing to what's going on around you.
Totally.
Right? That's what you're saying.
Yeah, it's like, I'm saying that, and it's also totally saying that, and it's also like friendship. It's like, what are you going to do? You have a conflict with a friend. Oh, you're not in alignment with me. What kind of friendship is that?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like zero tolerance of something that's different between two people. It's like, going into it, it's like that friend that has that difference, might be the greatest friend you had, because you have to work something out between the two of you. And Burning Man pushes everybody through that.
Yeah.
It pushes you through having to just be like, look, although I'm not in alignment with all this stuff, this is part of the world that I live in, and like, I'm seeing something extreme, like it's even, I even have to accept animal cruelty, and that's my real like thing that I'm most shattered by in the world, is all this cruelty that we're doing to the animals and our relations, but I have to accept it, if we attack things, it's not going to change. And that's where I had to change my whole approach for more of like direct activism stuff. And I think there's a place for that, to get involved, to tie yourself to a tree, to stand up in front of military if you feel called to do that. That's cool. That's your truth. But there is, it's the compassion. Because when I met the families who were doing all the shark finning, man, it's like they are literally just doing what their ancestors have done for the longest time.
Yeah.
And they're not evil people, you know, necessarily. They're doing something very disconnected.
It's like with
You
Vic,
know?
like Steve, Michael Vick,
Yeah.
with the pit
dog
bulls.
stuff.
But not saying, 'cause I just rescued a pit bull.
Yeah.
But just going back to, he probably was raised, his parent, you know, like, you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying
Yeah.
it's horrible shit. When you see that it's all pit bulls, when you go to the shelter,
just-
I've been
it's
like
just
3
limited-
months looking for a dog.
It's just limited mindset, you know, and exposure to
that's
that.
what I was
And I
saying.
was going to say that earlier when you were talking about it. It's like people just don't know any better, you know, or choose not to know any better, you know. And for me, once I kind of, and I'm not perfect, I don't have it all figured out either, right? But once you know the truth, you can't ignore that. You can make a choice to do something different, but
That's a
you
big
know in your
point,
heart
yeah.
that it's wrong, and
Yeah.
that's feeding yourself poison alone.
And
when
you
it
do
comes
gotta-
to
yeah.
spirituality. Can I ask a couple questions just about music?
Yeah, let's get into music.
Because I looked, you know, not to get off topic, and I know that this is a spiritual podcast, but I've looked at some of the credits that you have, and it's amazing to me that you're so humble considering a lot of the things that you've done. You know, so if you could pinpoint one moment in your life musically that was like, I'm home, I'm here, like this is the great, like wow, what would that be?
Yeah, okay, well, 2 things came through. Am I allowed to?
Yeah, you can have 3.
One was touring with Ben Harper, and there was this moment where the whole like stage like just shut down, like, and I was like, it was my moment that we were gonna participate. He was like gonna have me up and do a little something, and that brother just went into this a cappella, and if you think about it, it's like, so I enjoyed seeing this and witnessing this because it changed my life in terms of that moment was like I fully got like the whole art of making the best of your moment. Say a car breaks down, say a stage shuts down, right? You know, the whole stage shut down. Yet he went a cappella, and he had me doing the drums and a little bit of guitar or whatever, you know. Wow. And that was the best part of the show.
Yeah.
So being shown how like it's like breaking your leg, you know, and it's the worst thing in your life. Like you broke your leg.
How'd you break your leg?
You know, I didn't break my leg.
I've broken
No,
my
but there's
leg.
something that
Exactly. How did you break your leg? Exactly. Looking at why that might have happened, you know, and then you can utilize the lesson or the whatever it is to something. It's not necessarily something closing down. It might be something else opening up. And that moment was huge, because then if you think about music in that way, you know, you are continuously like just able to utilize whatever moment, like, and that you need that as an artist.
Well, that's where the real good stuff comes from.
Totally.
You know, in all of life, though, you know, it comes from when a necessity, you know, versus a leisure.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why we're hoping the world turns around, because now it's a necessity versus a movement of, you know, just people feeling good and wanting to feel better or see things better. What was the second moment?
Yeah, music's alive, right? So I guess it's more interesting when it's in a space where it's alive. Second one is pretty personal, but I'm just gonna go for it. There was a fan of my music that I never knew that died of cancer, and I found out after he passed away that from his sister, that he listened to my music throughout that whole transition to accept his passing, which was the most, like, even if that was it for me, like, even if I don't go on now to do what I wish to do and get my music out to the world and all these things I've dreamt as a kid, having someone value something that I made, like, valued myself, like, he doesn't even know, hope he does know, like,
you know,
how much that validated. Like, I hold on to that sometimes in the hardest times when I'm like totally broke, or, you know, just maxed out on, like, you know, doing everything as all us single solo artists often have to do, balancing all this stuff. I miss my family or something, I hold on to those brothers' words. That he wrote me something before he died too, and I flew out to it's pretty deep. I flew out to Brazil and went to this beach called Praia Mole, which is in Florianopolis in the south of Brazil where I used to live. And I dressed pretty well at a tropical beach. I was like super hot, trying to find this. All I knew was there would be a ceremony for his life, right? And they asked me to play this one song. And I'm not kidding you, man. Like, I got to the end of the beach and like the waves were like hitting the side of the rocks. There was like this whole circle of people around me, and I played this song like in the middle of like maybe 3 or 4 circles of his family, and like something happened when I was playing the song. Like, I don't think I was playing the song anymore, is what I'm trying to say, honestly. Wow. Like, my experience of that was just like, I was totally lucid, just for the record, and I just remember like imagining this melody, and the next minute I was in the melody, and it was like just I felt like I just sat back, and then this like hey like I was just like something was singing through me, and then I realized at that moment that we are genuinely conduits of a greater energy,
spirit,
call it what you will. It's really important how the information is communicated to people about those kind of experiences, that doesn't put them off. There's so much you can feel the truth in what I just told, I hope. And that wasn't that I wasn't doing yoga, I wasn't doing LSD, I wasn't doing any mushrooms, or I wasn't even doing anything. I was just singing a song. Just through singing a song, had this, like, I'm not kidding you, like I was absolutely out of my body. And coming full circle back to Ben, the first time I met him, Ben Harper is a big inspiration in my life. And first time I met him, and I was like, "You all right, man?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm just coming back into my body." And that was after he did a show, and that's meaning that there is something beyond our body and beyond our mind that we are connected to. That's okay.
Source.
Let's just be comfortable with that. That's great. That's and let's just be open to that for a moment, and not need to make it like anything extraordinary that some people have or some people don't. We all have that, and I think that's what this platform is about. Really nourishing and accepting that part of ourselves, and owning it, and owning that we're all connected and of equal importance.
I had a couple questions, but I think after that last answer, I don't have any more questions. That was amazing. I think death is something that a lot of people, we all have to deal with it. We've talked about it here on this podcast, and we know Joey just lost his mom not too long ago.
Yeah, man.
And I think I've had a ton of death in my life too, and I think that would be amazing to experience as a family member, much less you as the artist. So kudos to you for that, and that being something you hold on to keep you going. You're right on. And you're lucky for that. Like that is a blessing beyond any kind of class you can take or any kind of book you can read.
Yeah, it feels like that in my life for sure. Thank you for sharing that.
Satnam, thanks for coming down.
Satnam for life.
Satnam.
Yeah, man, brothers.
Waheguru Satnam.
Please don't forget to rate and subscribe to the Space Between podcast on Apple Podcast.